A rich man gave away his entire fortune to a young woman, believing in her potential. 6 months later, she would discover the chilling truth behind his seemingly generous offer. This video reveals the hidden secrets that lie beneath the surface of a life-changing gift.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Enigma Files. Let's get started.
Emma had never been one to seek attention or accolades. She was an unassuming young woman, quiet and determined, with big dreams that she rarely shared with others. As a low-level employee at a law firm, she worked long hours, grinding through mountains of paperwork, answering phone calls, and performing menial tasks. She didn't mind the work; it paid the bills and allowed her to live modestly in a small apartment in the city. But deep down, she longed for more. She dreamed of a life where she could do something that mattered, something that would make her feel proud, something that would elevate her out of the ordinary. One evening, Emma was at a charity gala event she had reluctantly agreed to attend at the urging of her boss. She wasn't one for fancy parties or high society gatherings, but she knew it was important for networking and advancing her career. The gala was being held at an extravagant hotel, filled with wealthy guests dressed in their finest attire. The glittering chandeliers, expensive champagne, and endless rows of hors d'oeuvres felt almost out of place for Emma. Despite feeling a little out of place, Emma decided to make the most of the event. She grabbed a glass of wine and wandered through the room. That's when she first saw him, Charles Blackwood, an older man with silver hair, a well-tailored suit, and an air of sophistication. He was known as one of the wealthiest businessmen in the country, and his reputation preceded him. Despite his fame, Charles had an enigmatic aura. At first, Emma tried to avoid drawing attention to herself. She wasn't a part of that world, and she certainly didn't belong in the same social circles. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. As the evening wore on, Emma found herself standing near a group of people when Charles approached her. He gave her a polite smile, and without any preamble, he struck up a conversation. Emma was taken aback. Why was someone like him talking to her? They exchanged pleasantries, and soon Charles invited Emma to join him for a private conversation away from the crowd. Despite her hesitation, Emma agreed, unsure of what to expect, but intrigued by the man's mysterious demeanor. They spoke for what seemed like hours, discussing everything from Emma's career to her hopes for the future. Charles listened intently, asking insightful questions and offering words of encouragement that Emma had never heard before. His kindness and genuine interest in her life surprised her. For someone so wealthy and powerful, he wasn't arrogant or dismissive. As the night drew to a close, Charles handed Emma a business card and told her that he would like to help her. At first, Emma thought it was just a polite gesture. She assumed he was simply being courteous, as people often were at these events. But when she got home later that night, she found an email from Charles in her inbox. It was a simple message. "I have arranged for a meeting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. I think you have great potential, and I would like to offer you something that could change your life. Please come to my office." Emma stared at the screen in disbelief. Was this some sort of prank? She thought about deleting the email, but something inside her told her to take a chance. She had always dreamed of opportunities like this, and here was a man offering her the chance to change her life. So she decided to go. The next morning, Emma arrived at Charles's luxurious office building, feeling both excited and nervous. She had no idea what to expect. When she entered his office, Charles greeted her warmly and asked her to sit down. Without wasting any time, he handed her a legal document. "I have decided to offer you a generous sum of money to help you achieve your goals," he said, his voice calm and measured. "I know this may seem sudden, but I believe you are capable of doing great things, and I want to give you the means to do so." Emma blinked in shock as she looked at the document. The amount of money listed on the contract was staggering, far more than she could ever have imagined. It was enough to cover her debts, her student loans, and provide for a future she had only dreamed of. But there was one condition. Charles explained that the money was hers to keep, but he wanted her to help with one of his business ventures, a project that would require her to use her legal expertise and skills. It sounded like an incredible opportunity, and Emma, caught up in the excitement, didn't hesitate to accept. She signed the contract. Over the next few months, Emma worked closely with Charles, immersing herself in the project he had assigned her. She used the money he had given her to pay off her debts, upgrade her apartment, and take care of her family. Things were going well. However, as time went on, Emma began to notice strange things. She learned that Charles had an uncanny ability to know everything about her life. It was unsettling, but she brushed it off as coincidence. After all, he was a businessman, and he must have connections everywhere. One day, while reviewing some of the project documents, Emma came across something that made her freeze in her tracks. Among the files was a detailed dossier about her, one that contained personal information she hadn't shared with anyone. There were details about her parents, her childhood, and even her closest friends. It was then that Emma realized the shocking truth. Charles Blackwood hadn't just given her money out of the goodness of his heart. He had been watching her, studying her for years. He had known her potential long before they met at that gala, and everything that had happened in her life had been orchestrated by him. The business venture she had been working on was nothing more than a tool for him to control her, to shape her into the person he wanted her to become. Emma's heart sank as she realized the extent of his manipulation. She had been nothing more than a pawn in his grand scheme. The wealth, the opportunities, the life she had dreamed of, they were all part of his plan to bring her into his world. Confronting Charles was the hardest thing Emma had ever done. But when she finally did, he didn't deny it. In fact, he admitted everything. He had carefully cultivated her life, shaping her into the perfect partner for his future plans. He had given her everything she wanted. Emma was left standing in the ruins of her dreams, her trust shattered. She had been deceived, used, and manipulated by a man who had never cared for her. The fortune she had been given, the life she had built, felt hollow now. She had learned a hard lesson. Sometimes, the things that seem too good to be true are exactly that, too good to be true.